Welcome back, everyone, to this high-energy TekinGame Pulse Explainer. Today, we're executing a rapid-fire teardown of what is easily Google's most ambitious hardware and on-device AI leap to date. If you've been tracking the industry's pivot toward localized artificial intelligence, you already know the recent Made by Google 2026 keynote wasn't just your standard product launch. It was a massive architectural flex. We're diving straight into the data from the Tekin Analysis report to uncover exactly how Google is completely changing the game.
And right off the bat, to really grasp the stakes today, just look at that number, 40%. That represents the massive thermal efficiency improvement we're seeing in the new Tensor G6 chip. By finally migrating their fabrication foundries, Google is completely solving those historical overheating and power draw bottlenecks that, let's be honest, we all know too well. This isn't just a minor incremental tweak, this is literally the key unlocking their entire 2026 strategy.
So let's blast through today's teardown checklist. First, we'll look at the overarching Google 2026 strategy, followed by a deep dive into the Pixel Watch 5. Then we'll break down the Tensor G6 and Pixel 11, pit Gemini against its rivals, explore the new Pixel Tag ecosystem, and finish up with our ultimate upgrade verdict.
All right, Part 1. Welcome to Google 2026 in the era of on-device AI maturity. Like I said, this keynote wasn't just a basic spec bump. We're talking about a total architectural overhaul here. Google has built a highly integrated ecosystem operating in perfect sync. We're looking at everything from life-saving wearable biosensors to absolutely blinding 3600 nit smartphone displays, all driven by this completely overhauled 3nm silicon designed specifically for local Gemini AI execution.
Moving right along to Section 2, our Pixel Watch 5 deep dive, featuring the much-anticipated 41mm and 45mm chassis options.
So Google finally listened to the crowd and gave us more display real estate. But you know what? The real story here is the internal telemetry. We kick things off with the dual-chip Snapdragon W5 Gen 2, which smartly delegates background tasks to squeeze out a solid 48 hours of battery life. Combine that with a blistering 3000 nit variable 60Hz display and groundbreaking medical sensors that continuously track blood pressure trends and insulin resistance directly from your wrist. It's wild.
Now, before we get into the heavy AI benchmarks, let's bust a little jargon. You're going to hear Gemini Nano and Raise to Talk thrown around a lot. What this actually means is zero-latency local AI processing. You can execute complex tasks. Think managing a messy Gmail thread or firing up a highly specific contextual workout just by lifting your wrist. You completely bypass the touchscreen. It's a totally frictionless, hands-free voice control interface powered directly by local AI agents.
Okay, Section 3. The Tensor G6 and Pixel 11, and that all-important 3nm silicon migration. Let's look at the mobile powerhouse, because it's been fundamentally redefined by its new processor. Google's crucial switch from Samsung to TSMC's advanced 3nm process captures the absolute #1 tier for zero-latency on-device AI. By prioritizing neural processing over, just chasing superficial graphics scores, they have left Qualcomm and Apple seriously scrambling to match this level of hardware integration.
Which brings us to Section 4, Gemini versus Apple and Samsung, the ultimate AI battleground.
So, how does Gemini actually perform when the heat is on? Honestly, it completely obliterates the competition. Thanks to that G6 chip, we're talking about sub-50 millisecond voice response latencies. Compare that to Apple Intelligence's moderate latencies or Galaxy AI still relying on that slow cloud server handshake. Gemini gives you true multimodal autonomy in over 40 global languages, and it does it entirely on-device.
And looking right at this source data from Tekin Analysis, you can see how Google secures a decisive victory in contextual awareness. Gemini is parsing live audio, camera inputs, and screen text simultaneously. It's even adapting to regional idioms inside local secure enclaves. It is a really stark contrast to Apple's heavily restricted Siri triggers and basic photo utilities.
Next up, Section 5, the Pixel Tag ecosystem expansion and the global Find My Device grid.
It took a while, but Google is finally locking down physical tracking, and their competitive advantage here is pretty undeniable. The new Pixel Tag leverages the massive Android Find My Device network, packs dual-frequency ultra-wideband for crazy spatial precision, and boasts an industry-leading 1.5-year lifespan on a replaceable battery that easily tops both Apple's AirTag and Samsung's SmartTag 2.
All right, Section 6, the ultimate upgrade verdict. The big question, should you make the switch?
So the absolutely crucial metric you need to consider before you buy is the number 7.
Google is now guaranteeing 7 full years of OS and security patches across the entire Pixel 11 lineup. That locks in your software drops all the way through 2033, which ensures some massive long-term resale value for your hardware.
Based on the Tekin Advisory Board, here's your actionable buying guide. If you're rocking a legacy Watch 2 or 3, you really need to upgrade to the Watch 5 for that life-saving medical telemetry and the Gemini raise-to-talk gesture. If you're a power user who needs maximum battery endurance and telephoto performance, the Pixel 11 Pro XL is your go-to. If you're a professional craving pocketable multitasking efficiency, you want the newly redesigned ultra-thin Pixel 11 Pro Fold. And lastly, for sure, blanket your valuables in those new Pixel tags to fully leverage that mature Android tracking grid.
We've analyzed the aggressive benchmarks. We've seen the massive AI latency victories with those sub-50 millisecond response times. And we've looked at the undeniable hardware maturation across the entire Made by Google 2026 lineup, successfully merging premium titanium and recycled aluminum with world-class AI software. So I'm going to leave you with this final, provocative thought to consider as we wrap up today's explainer. Is this historic shift to TSMC 3nm silicon and completely localized AI enough to make you finally switch your entire ecosystem to Pixel?